Do you ever feel like you're just starting to make some progress in feeling better, only to be hit by a setback that makes you feel like you're right back at square one? Well, you're not alone. Setbacks do happen. And in this video, I'm going to share with you how to handle setbacks gracefully so that you can continue on the path to healing. Hi, I'm Rob Lieblein. I'm a certified pain recovery coach, and I'm also a former chronic pain sufferer. And during my recovery, I had lots and lots of setbacks. And the fact is that it's really rare for healing from chronic pain and symptoms to be on a linear pathway. There are always, or almost always, ups and downs and all kinds of detours. So it's really a normal part of the healing process. Now, why does this happen? Well, there are a few different reasons. It can be based on different stressors that are going on in your life. There could be old emotional patterns that you keep running or slipping back into. And then there could be a variety of different physical triggers that you experience and react to by becoming more symptomatic, by having a flare-up. And when you think about it, when it comes to mind, body, and neuroplastic symptoms, those are the results of maybe years, perhaps even a whole lifetime of laying down very specific neural pathways in your brain that are causing your symptoms, and they're just not going to go away overnight. So there is some patience required with this, and again, that understanding that experiencing setbacks is a normal part of the healing process. In fact, sometimes those setbacks can even mean that you're making progress, that you're actually getting better. And I'll give you a couple examples. One example is what we call the extinction burst. And an extinction burst is when, almost out of nowhere, you're starting to feel better, but then you have this amping up of your systems that feels worse than maybe it ever felt before. And the extinction burst is often compared to a toddler who throws a fit, a temper tantrum, whenever they're upset in order to get a cookie from the parent. They know the cookie's coming, and then they'll feel better after they get their treat. And then one day the parent decides they're not going to be held hostage to cookie bribery anymore. So they say, next time my toddler has a fit, I'm just going to withhold the cookie. Now, when they first withhold the cookie during the next tantrum, that tantrum can really be over the top. But once the toddler finally burns him or herself out and realizes there's no cookie coming, they come to the realization that, well, maybe this just isn't working anymore, and I need to bring my behavior and my nervous system back to normal. And that is sort of what happens with pain and symptoms in an extinction burst. The symptoms know that they are being driven out, so they try one last dramatic gasp at keeping you preoccupied and distracted. Now, the other kind of setback that is pretty common for people to experience is when a symptom goes away in one area of the body only to reappear in another part of the body. So maybe you've been dealing with really bad neck pain, and it starts to get better, and all of a sudden you're dealing with knee pain. Now, that can sometimes be viewed as what we call the symptoms being on the run. The brain knows that you're kind of onto this behavior that it's performing, and it decides to try and trick you. But when you realize it for what it is, that your symptoms are in fact on the run, that helps put you in a much better state of mind to be able to continue healing and not get so frustrated and give up. So what are some of the things that we can do to effectively manage setbacks? Well, one of them we'll start with is to reframe what it means to have a setback. So instead of viewing a setback as going back to square one, as a problem, as an obstacle, start to think of a setback as something that you can learn from. It's probably trying to teach you something about your own internal world and what you need. So view it that way and start to understand that, yeah, it's a part of the process. It's not the end of the road for me in my healing. And then, of course, there are some practical steps that you can take if you start to get a little freaked out by a setback. And one nice short-term way to help reset and re-regulate your nervous system is to engage in deep breathing practices, especially those practices that focus on having an extended exhalation. So there's one ratio of breathing that's called the 4-7-8 ratio. So you're breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for a count of 7, and then letting the exhalation go to a count of 8, repeating that several times. And that can be a nice short-term fix for bringing your nervous system back down if you find yourself freaking out over a setback or a flare-up in your symptoms. Another thing to do is revisit the different mind-body practices that brought you the amount of healing that you've already experienced. This is not the time to start letting go of all the good work you've done. And that may have been for you that maybe it was journaling that worked. Maybe it was meditation. Maybe it was somatic tracking, or any combination of those things. But just remember that you did make progress with these things, and now is the time to continue with them and not lay them aside in despair. It's also really important to practice self-compassion during these flare-ups. And instead of having that internal talk that makes you say, oh, I'm a failure, I can't heal, I'll never heal again, instead of that, just imagine how a really close friend would speak to you, or how you would speak to that friend. What kind of encouragement would you give? What kind of understanding would you give? Giving yourself self-compassion actually helps speed up the healing process. And then continually remind yourself about what you've learned to this point in your healing journey, and start to apply what you've learned about yourself and your internal life. So if you find yourself feeling worse, feeling flared up, and feeling frustrated, take a step back and ask yourself, what is it I need right now? Do I need some rest? Do I need to deal with some difficult emotions? Do I just need to get out and have some fun and experience some joy? But again, take these moments as opportunities to know yourself better and how your system operates. And that can get you back to healing a lot faster than getting mired down in frustration and fear. So remember, setbacks are a normal part of the healing process. You are getting better, even if you don't always feel like it. You're on a journey towards healing, and setbacks are a part of that road. So to celebrate whatever amount of healing you've done so far, and whatever you're going to do for yourself in the future, hit the like button below, or subscribe to this channel and continue receiving tips and information on how to recover. And if you want a little more personalized attention, you can always schedule a 30-minute free consultation with me to find out if my coaching program is appropriate for your circumstances. So until then, I will see you in the next video, and remember, chronic pain is not a life sentence.